In the news tonight, more people going to treatment centers as a result of non-traditional drugs. A call in the Senate for vehicles parked in designated disabled spaces to be towed. PSV operators devising ways to stay safe in the face of recent robberies.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom. Thank you so much for tuning in. In our top story tonight, government's substance abuse watchdog continues to keep a close eye on the increase in use of non-traditional drugs. The NCSA says methamphetamine is among those non-traditional drugs being watched as the council prepares to embark on a national household survey to get a true picture of the situation on the ground. Anesta Henry tells us more.
More Barbadians are presenting themselves to treatment facilities for non-traditional substances or drugs that are new to the island. Deputy Manager of the National Council on Substance Abuse, Troy Wickham, says the Barbados Drug Information Network has been showing this slight diversification as it relates to the local drug scene for the past 7 years. Speaking to CBC News at the NCSA's open day to commemorate Drug Awareness Month, Mr. Wickham said the council is now planning a national household survey to get an update on the prevalence of substance abuse.
In 2023, I can say that the NCSA issued 2 alerts coming out of our early warning system. Is a mechanism designed to disseminate information rapidly on what we call new psychotic substances, and we have recognized that we have methamphetamine on island, ecstasy on island, and we had a seizure of what we call synthetic cannabinoids. And it's important for us to share this information with the wider Barbados because the harms associated with using these non-traditional substances are vast and they're highly addictive. So
Mr. Wickham says young males under age 40 are going to treatment facilities and they're also coming into contact with the criminal justice system for drug-related offenses.
I can say that more women are involved in trafficking of drugs, period. Women, but we are concerned especially about young males using substances and presenting themselves for treatment.
Director of Clinical Services at the Substance Abuse Foundation, Alison Gotip, shares what is happening at Verdun and Marina House.
What we've seen in the last couple of years concerning is that there's been an increase in non-traditional substance use. When persons do seek treatment with us, we actually have a 26-panel drug test, and some of that is coming up with some alarming information on non-traditional substances.
The NCSA continues to work with organizations such as the Substance Abuse Foundation to fight against drug abuse on the island. The open day, which involved the sharing of information, is one such initiative. Anesta Henry, CBC News.
Government Senator Lisa Cummins wants to see vehicles illegally parked in disabled parking spaces towed away. Senator Cummins made the call while throwing support behind the amendment to the Road Traffic Act to raise the penalty for illegally parking in disabled parking spaces from $500 to $5,000. The Minister of Energy and Business Development says there needs to be stricter response to persistent violations. She was making her contribution to the resolution, National Policy for Improving the Lives of Persons with Disabilities.
This is now about enforcing the legislation, and in fact, I would like to see us go even further. I would like to see us introducing measures that clamp people's vehicles. So you thought it was easier for you to park in a space for a disabled person, and you thought that you would get away with it, and if the police don't find you or the security guard doesn't report to the police and they don't get there in time, you walk away without consequences. I would welcome the occasion where people would come back out of a supermarket or out of a bank and not be able to move their vehicles at all because they have either been clamped or they have been towed away because you are indiscriminately parking in a space that is reserved for persons with disabilities.
Senator Cummins adds those guilty of parking in spaces allocated for the disabled must consider that they are inconveniencing these vulnerable individuals.
The parking spaces and the parking bays are bigger for persons with disabilities for a reason, and they are closer for a reason. And it takes nothing off of Barbadians to park in areas where you can make your way to your storefront with no difficulty, instead of having to park in a space that is specifically reserved for a person who needs the access.
Well, even though slightly behind its CARICOM counterparts, Barbados now has comprehensive legislation to advocate for and protect the human rights of disabled citizens. According to Senator Andwele Boyce, advocates in other Caribbean countries have often inquired why Barbados was so late in developing comprehensive laws to protect vulnerable persons. However, while contributing to the resolution, National Policy for Improving the Lives of Persons with Disabilities, which he had a hand in developing, Senator Boyce declared that Barbados has learnt from the experiences of other jurisdictions in the region with similar legislation.
And so I'm not shy in saying that I think that we have the most comprehensive and fit for purpose legislation anywhere in the region, Mr. President. And if it finds favor with my colleagues today, I think Barbados will be well up front on the matters of the protection of persons with disabilities.
Senator Patricia Parris is calling for the new national policy for improving the lives of persons with disabilities, once passed, to be policed. She says in order to deter people from parking in spots allocated to those with disabilities, there must be proper policing of the legislation.
It is time that consideration be given to these parks, and when you are parked in a disability area, that you be paid the money, the $5,000, and that can only be done if we have proper policing.
Additionally, Senator Parris raised concerns about the quietness of electric vehicles and says provisions must be made for those with disabilities to hear when the vehicles are approaching.
Every effort must be made to ensure that these persons are protected, because more and more electric vehicles are on the road, and they should make an effort to ensure that their lives are not in danger, and implement something that would protect them and would allow them to hear the vehicles so when they are approaching.
Opposition Senator Andre Worrell is advising government it may have to provide private sector companies with incentives to allow them to hire disabled people. Senator Worrell says the National Development Fund may need to consider providing grants for organizations to make their workspaces disabled friendly. He made the suggestion during his contribution to the resolution, National Policy for Improving the Lives of Persons with Disabilities.
The older facilities may not have the access for the bathrooms with accessibility for persons with disabilities, but as they've built new facilities over the years, that they have included these facilities. But not every company in Barbados have those resources that you can say, well, you know, have a 10-year plan of renovation, but may want to be a part of it.
In light of recent robberies and shooting incidents, PSV operators are thinking about their own safety. The Alliance Owners of Public Transport is especially concerned and is calling on members to instill cameras in all PSVs and also implement other measures to protect workers. Director of Communications and Public Affairs Mark Haynes says security systems are costly but necessary and worthwhile. He notes it is not fair that after working long hours, PSV operators are robbed of their earnings.
So I think it's imperative that the owners ensure that their vehicles are affixed with the requisite cameras, so that anyone who gets on the buses and wants to do anything wrong or does anything wrong, the camera you can get footage, so that when you call the police, you can, at least that helps in the process of apprehending those persons who seek to rob the vehicles. Because when there's cash, there's the exposure for persons to be robbed, for a van to be hijacked, because people have the perception there's a lot of money, so let us take this man now. But in the whole process of doing that, they can cause the commuters in the vehicles, cause their life to be in peril by this kind of silly act.
Mr. Haynes says commuters must also be vigilant and look out for suspicious behaviors on PSVs. He adds the umbrella body is also awaiting the introduction of the proposed cashless payment system.
Now, when that comes, there will be no cash. So therefore, then, committing the robbery may be very slim, or might be unanimously reduced because there's no cash. There's not the feeling to take people's money. But we have to work with what we have with now to try to mitigate against theft in all forms.
Well, we're just 15 days into the year, but already a Kadooment band is showing what it has to offer. We'll have that story and much more when we come back. The Barbados Meteorological Services has extended its high surf advisory until tomorrow night. Choppy sea conditions continue to affect western coastlines of Barbados, stretching from Sherman's in St. Lucie to Blackwood's Screwdock in Bridgetown. Meteorologist Cherise Brathwaite urges all to pay attention to all relevant media channels for updates. An update is expected to be given at 6 p.m. tomorrow or sooner if conditions warrant.
Beachgoers and persons with interests along the west coast should be prepared for the possibility of overtopping of waves onto coastal properties and roads in very close proximity to the shoreline, causing potential damage. Additionally, some beach erosion is possible if beaches are submerged. Please note, there is the potential for loss of life or injury for beachgoers. There may also be some delays in the ports of entry due to possible closures or berthing challenges.
Well, Dream Mass Kadooment Band is the newest kid on the block and the first out the blocks ahead of this year's Cropover Festival. An invitation has been extended to Barbadians for first dibs at being a dream doll or a dream dawn if they dare to dream. And one government senator says this type of activity represents some of the myriad of opportunities government is employing to ensure young people showcase their talent and skills on the big stage. Well, the media got a sneak peek at the costumes set to launch on February 15th. Rachel Agard has that report.
Minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Investment, Senator Chad Blackman, says Dream Mass's Kadooment Band launch is a tremendous effort and gives kudos to management for being first on this year's stage. And he says with We Gather in 2025 being the hallmark of this year, those within the diaspora should use the initiative as a reason to come long home.
When you look further, Cropover, of course, is very important to Barbados, both from a cultural point of view, both from an economic point of view. And this really is the hallmark of who we are as a people in terms of our culture. And for them to know Christmas is gone and New Year's is gone, but yet within, 14 days of the year now starting, they're now saying to the country, here's where we are. It's a fantastic effort, and they must be commended for it.
Senator Blackman adds that the younger generation needs opportunities to hone their craft and notes the government continues to work hand in hand with the island's ecosystem. He says, based on what he has been hearing on the ground, the young people are ready to contribute to the island's economy.
We live in a country that has a lot of talent, has a lot of potential, and we are starting to see significant levels of growth to take place now. We must now connect all of these areas to ensure that young people can use their talents that God has given them to manifest it in the economy in different ways. So whether you're a designer, you're a fashion, an artist, singing, whether you're a producer, you name it, you must now be able to see Barbados and the region, first of all, as your marketplace. And why do I say the region? We're part of the single market in economy. And in every single country in the Caribbean, there are carnivals, there are festivals, there's music. You have soca, you have dancehall. And we must now leverage the talents that young people have and not just think in terms of 166 square miles. Why? Because when you do that, you now expand the opportunity pool for young people in Barbados and around the region.
Commercial manager at Stansfeld Scott, Richard Rollocks, who is also a part of Dream Mass, promises vibes with a new band, which he says has an old soul.
When we say dare to dream, we're speaking about pushing boundaries. We're speaking about imagining yourself in an atmosphere in a band that delivers on all the aspects of what Cropover should be. So we're talking about vibes, we're talking about quality costumes, we are speaking about quality service, premium drinks on the road, having a good time. We plan to put Barbados on the map when it comes to having vibes for Cropover 2025.
He's inviting all and sundry to come out and join Eden, which he says has a heavy CARICOM influence. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
The Men's Empowerment Network support through its initiative Men's Talk is reaping success, bringing about changes in participants. Founder and President Fabian Sargent says men are becoming more caring and connected to their family. Men's Talk provides a safe space for men to talk about what's on their mind and express themselves without being judged. The first session for 2025 will take place at the YMCA on Saturday.
Traditionally, men would have gone to the blocks, men would have gone to the rum shops to share. We create this space every single month where men could come and talk in a professional space, express what is on your mind, and don't feel judged.
You hit nail.
Yeah, don't feel judged. And it is a confidential space. And I can tell you, we've been running these groups for just over 5 years. And not once can I tell you that the body business was ever mentioned outside of that group. And I really want to commend the men who attend every single month and who would have shared deeply for being there and being able to, I guess, adhere to the rules of the group.
Mr. Sargent says a Christian men's talk has also been added.
That is Christian based, you know, those men. The church is the biggest collective group, really, organization in Barbados. And it would be injustice if we don't reach out to that group, if we really want to talk about men's support. And I know there are a lot of men who are involved in the church who would have come to our groups who would have been going through tremendous pressure within themselves because they think there's a standard to live up to. And oftentimes, if they don't do that, then they're so hard on themselves. And it really does something to their mental health. So we thought it necessary to team up with the YMCA. I have to give a big shout out to them for providing us with a space and for partnering with us on this Christian support group.
And sports time now, as promised. Anne-Marie Burke is live in studio. She's going to tell us about how the West Indies players are performing. Anne-Marie, good evening.
Good evening to you, Lisa. They've been doing pretty well as they performed with both bat and ball for the Abu Dhabi Knight Riders as they beat the Sharjah Warriors by 30 runs in the International League T20 in Abu Dhabi today. Sent into bat, the Knight Riders posted a 159 for 5 in their 20 overs. Laurie Evans led with 39 not out, while captain Andre Russell struck 24 not out and Kyle Mears 21 off 9 balls. Adil Rashid had 2 for 14. The Warriors in response were bowled out for 129 in 19.3 overs. Jason Holder impressed with 4 for 23, while player of the match David Willey took 3 for 19, and Mears returned to take 2 for 16 as the Knight Riders secured their first victory of season 3. Captain Tim Southey made 24, while Kemo Paul contributed 21, and opener Johnson Charles 12 in that failed runs chase. A weak batting performance by the West Indies on the 19 women resulted in a comfortable 79-run win for New Zealand on the 19s in an ICC World Cup warm-up match yesterday in Malaysia. In the final game before the tournament bowls off this weekend, the Windies on the 19s crumbled to 72 all out in 18.5 overs, chasing 152 for victory. Brianna Haracharan top scored with 16 and Asabi Calendar had 10. Early New Zealand on the 19s racked up 151 for 2, led by Emma McLeod with an even 50 and Kate Irwin 46 before both retired out. On Monday, the young Windies women won their first warm-up against Nepal by 9 runs. Captain Samara Ramnath made 25, Asabi Calendar 23 and Jazara Claxton 22 not out in the Windies 109 for 4. Nepal came close to securing the win, but they were bowled out for 100 in 19.1 overs. Trisha Hardat, Aaliyah Weeks and Amaya Gilbert took 2 wickets apiece. The Windies on the 19 women will begin their campaign in Group A against against India on the 19th in Kuala Lumpur on Sunday. That game starts at 2:30 a.m. Barbados time. MCTV's ESPN channel is scheduled to air selected games in the World Cup. I'll take a quick break and return with more. It's official. As reported first by CBC Sports last night, Asquith Howell has been named the new head coach of local football Titans, Weymouth, Wales. With just days left until the start of the new BFA Premier League season, Howell has already completed his first training session with the defending champions. Our Anmar Goodrich Boyce reports.
The winds of change have blown at the most successful football club in Barbados, Weymouth, Wales. The reigning Premier League and BFA knockout champions have now officially appointed Asquith Howell as their new head coach for the upcoming season, set to begin this weekend. CBC Sports popped into Howell's first training session last night, and in his first media interview, the former Barbados Defence Force sports program coach outlined his goals and vision for the job.
We're up in Canada, whereby you had the likes of Gas Clark, the same Jerry Goddard, Aline, and the list goes on. So therefore, traditionally, Wales was always a powerhouse in football. My aim here is to just develop and try to take the team to another level. Our first aim is to really defend the championships, but I want to take them even a little bit further than defend the championships. If we could go on to play the teams in CFU, it would really be a test, and at the end of the day, it will develop Barbados football and by extension the national team.
Howell said he is familiar with several of the players who encouraged him to take up the position.
Well, if you look at the team over the years, obviously most of the guys they will have worked with either at national level or at BDF. So therefore, it will already be a thing. And furthermore, it's them who encouraged me to come to Wales due to the fact of I haven't coached them, have coached them at Barbados Defence Force, and now they're coming back home to my home team basically, so it's a win-win for both of us.
Central defender Romar Miller, who has been absent for a year due to injury, is back in training. Well, there are new faces among the Wales camp, including former Paradise captain Armando Lashley, midfielder Nikolai Braffett, as well as Najee Holder.
It feels good as a decent player in the island, coming and playing with the best men on the island. It's only fitting that I should be here to help win things this season.
I'm coming from Paradise. I was last recently at Kickstart on loan, but I decided to join Wales for a new challenge and to push myself to get back to the top.
The Carrington Village-based Wales have won a total of 36 titles since the club first formed in 1958. Anmar Goodrich Boyce, CBC Sport.
Well, Lisa, I'll take my first break here. When I return, I have some more cricket news.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. I'll see you in the second half, but up next is the business report. A momentous occasion. That's how acting manager of the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, Ryan Mosley, described the Yes branded cellular phone stands at the unveiling ceremony at the Derek Smith School and Vocational Center today. He told the gathering it is the start of a far-reaching journey and exercise. Trevor Thorpe has more.
The Cellular Phone Stand project is a signature product of the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme and will be first used with the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment in the interaction with other ministries. And the acting manager of the YES program said a developmental plan is in place to take the creation to the wider society and is also part of a long-term plan to gain a presence in the market before taking it to the public.
We had a template that we would have brought back from a session we attended overseas, and we felt that it would have been a good opportunity to give these young men the challenge to replicate a cell phone stand. Measurements were taken, the drawing was done, and I'm proud to say that the young men did a prototype. We looked at it, we felt it needed a bit of work. They went back, they did another prototype, and they have now delivered a Yes branded cell phone stand that will be used in Yes's memorabilia going forward as we interact with other schools and other agencies, and we're extremely proud to showcase the work of these young men.
Principal of the Derek Smith School and Vocational Centre, Victoria Mears, had high praise for the students and said the unveiling of the work comes hard on the heels of the recent passing of legislation for the physically challenged in the House of Assembly.
We're involved in the $20 challenge again this year. We've got some lovely products again, some stuff coming out of woodwork, which seems to have gone down well with the market. So we will continue our work with the challenge. But I think we've already started sort of developing even more partnerships with people out there in terms of getting our students in the workplace, getting exposed, so that then that may lead, we've had that a little bit before, but we want to kind of spread that out a little bit more. We're also working with hopefully some pop-up businesses, possibly here at school, so we can do that in a more controlled environment. So that's something we're developing with a couple of partners, but that's not just yet.
The principal said the final product was not only for the focus of the students of the Derek Smith School and Vocational Centre, but the coming together of a number of stakeholders and all society stand to benefit.
We're blessed that they have, I think what Ryan said earlier was they're not working with us because we're Derek Smith, they're working with us because they see the product. They see the craftsmanship, they see the skills that have been developed in the workshop, and that's what we really want. We know that some of our students look a bit different, sound a bit different, but actually we're all the same really. We just look a bit different and act a bit different sometimes, but we are developing skills, and to see that in a commercial format and be successful and other people be interested in that product is amazing. So the challenge kind of brought us to Yes, and now we're kind of taking it on somewhere else.
The Yes-branded cellular phone stands are a work in progress and are to become part of the social amenities in ministries before being made available to the public. Trevor Thorpe for the Business Report.
An extension has been granted until January 31st, 2025 for the submission of monthly corporation tax prepayment up to January 2025 for the 2025 income year. This is according to a statement from the Barbados Revenue Authority. The statement warns that failure to make prepayments by the due date will result in a penalty of 10% of $10 as well as interest rate at the rate of 0.5% per month. BRA also reminds entities these prepayments are due in accordance with the relevant provisions of the Income Tax Act. The legislation requires taxpayers to submit monthly prepayments toward their estimated corporation tax liability for the income year. Now, it should be noted that the monthly prepayment obligation does not apply to a company with a gross income of $2 million or less and which is registered as an approved small business under the Small Business Development Act, Cap 318C. Let's take a look now at how the stocks traded locally and regionally.
In Jamaica Stock Exchange with 5,031,631 units was the volume leader, followed by Carreras Limited and Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited. In Trinidad and Tobago NGL Limited was the volume leader with 15,807 shares changing hands for a value of Trinidad and Tobago $75,024.58, followed by NCB Financial Group Limited. And here in Barbados, Goddard Enterprises Limited was the sole security, trading 106,082 shares at Barbados $2.95 each.
Time for another break. When we come back, Carrie Ann O'Neill and the weather. Let's head over to Carrie Ann O'Neill now for a look at the weather. Good evening, Carrie Ann.
Good evening to you, Lisa, and good evening, everyone. Well, instability is impacting the region, but for us here in Barbados, we had only a few brief showers. Meanwhile, those winds, they remain light to moderate across the islands, and they're peaking at just around 12 knots for us here in Barbados. Meanwhile, the seas are quite choppy along the western coastlines. We do have that high surf advisory in effect. The maximum temperature today was 29 degrees Celsius, the minimum 24 degrees. At present, the temperature stands at 26 degrees Celsius. The relative humidity 80%. The winds are coming in from the east-northeast. We take a look now at our atmospheric conditions, where those temperatures are ranging from 22 to 26 degrees Celsius. The humidity shows moisture is building across a number of those islands, and the winds, they are light to moderate across the region. We take a look now at our satellite feed, where instability through a shear line and also convergence maintained some showers across a number of the islands. For us here in Barbados, we had only brief showers, 3.2 millimeters of rainfall in St. Philip. The winds are light to moderate across the islands. The seas quite choppy along the western coastlines. We do have that high surf advisory in effect. We are urging beachgoers to utilize those beaches with a on-duty lifeguard. Now, the seas specifically, they are moderate in open water with swells peaking at 2.5 meters. Later on tonight, we can expect a mix of clear and cloudy skies, along with a few light showers. Further south, occasionally cloudy skies, along with showers, prevailed across the Guianas. And over now in the Western Caribbean, there is a shear line maintaining wet conditions across sections of the Bahamas as well as Cuba. Puerto Rico also receiving some showers. That's our first look at the weather. After the break, we'll have the forecast. Welcome back. In the forecast for tomorrow, the sun is expected to rise at 6:25 and will set at 5:51. The first high tide is expected at 5:55 in the morning, the first low at 12 minutes after 11 in the morning. Now those seas, moderate in open water with swells peaking at 2.5 meters. We are urging small craft operators as well as sea bathers to exercise caution. Remember, there is a high surf advisory in effect. The winds are coming in from the east to the east-northeast, and they're peaking at 30 kilometers per hour. For us here in Barbados tonight, we can expect a mix of clear and cloudy skies along with those light showers. And over the next 3 days, while a trough system is expected to maintain a few showers, as a result, we will see a mix of sunshine, clouds, and showers.
Back over to Anne-Marie now for the second half in sports. Anne-Marie?
I promised some cricket news. We start with the fact that Youth and Experience maintain their unbeaten record and are early table leaders in the ANA Auto Fusion Boutique Champion of Champions T20 Table competition. After a 26-run win over RCY, Youth and Experience batted first at Weymouth and put up a solid 214, led by a century from Gaston Boeing. Let's look at that innings. Sent into bat, Youth and Experience found themselves in early trouble, as with just the fourth ball of the opening over, they will lose a wicket. A mix-up with the batters and a direct hit from RCY's Rashawn Hinkson sent Kalani Clark back to the pavilion. RCY with early celebrations. But they don't know what was coming their way with new batsman Gaston Boyne, who let his presence felt immediately. A big one to get his innings going. That was 6. On the other end, Jabari Yard would not be left out. Nicely turned this one to bounce into the boundary for 4. Very next ball, timed to perfection, lost among the buses in the Weymouth depot, water 6. Boynes was keeping up the momentum he came in with. This one whipped to the fine leg region. No matter what end of the crease he was at, once the delivery was right, the boundaries came. This one bouncing in the ropes. He would make it back-to-back boundaries, again timed, placed, and dispatched for vengeance. And while Boynes was making the 4s, Yard was a big hitter. Right out the ground yet again, racking up the runs. With 86 on the board and in the 9th over, RCY got the breakthrough they needed. Yard going high and hard again, but this time Rashid Edwin settles under it. Yard goes for 34, 4 4s and 2 6s in that knock. And Boynes just stepped up his game even more, taking over the hard hitting. Actually, he delivered 4 big ones back to back. And again, Tanver Duma, the bowler, under fire. And in the blink of an eye, Boynes brought up his century, and why not in style? Keep the 6s coming. The 100 made off 54 balls. What a knock. He wasn't done there, adding 6 more before he did lose his wicket for 106 to be his side's star boy. Skipper Zan Brathwaite was still there slapping this one down the ground for 6. Actually found the boundary consecutively. This one, a straight driven 4. And then it was 2 6s. Here's one of them. But 5 runs short of a half century. This one didn't have enough to clear the ropes, and Jamal Harewood holds on to it. Brathwaite out for 45. As youth and experience put 214 for 4 on the board. Now, in reply, RCY were held to 189 for 8. Lorando Weeks made 45 and Ramiro Alves 44, as the 3 youth and experienced bowlers took 2 wickets each. Now, head coach of the West Indies Test team, Andre Cooley, wants his players to build on the positives of 2024 in the upcoming 2-match Test series against Pakistan. The regional side is gearing up to face Pakistan starting on Friday in Multan. Pakistan, currently ranked 7th in the World Test Championship standings, will aim to improve their position against the West Indies, who are sitting at the bottom. The first test starts on Friday at 1:30 a.m. Barbados time. So back over to you, Lisa.
Thanks, Anne-Marie, and we'll be back after this break. And that's news for tonight. On behalf of the entire team, thanks for tuning in. Good night.